Hello and welcome to a live consulting break on Deprogrammed. This is a new channel, new-ish for a couple months, so if I'm here, please hit like and subscribe. I am doing streams now from my new old house. Apologize for the mess. We're still renovating, so everything's piled behind me. I won't keep my guests waiting. I'm very excited today. We're hanging out with actual Justice Warrior. I'm just gonna bring you on, Tom. Let's see how do I do that. I'll bring you both on. I'm so awkward. Sorry. Actual Justice Warrior, Sean Fitzgerald, and also Nina and Kennedy. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I don't know what happened to your audio. You sound so muffled all of a sudden. Is it just me?
Do I?
Yeah,
Now
your
you're
audio
good.
changed.
Oh my goodness. Hold on.
Now you're fine.
Now I'm
That was-
fine.
yeah, that was weird.
Okay. This
You're
is
good
a
now.
new setup here. So there have been a few kerfuffles. So I think we're good now.
It stopped kerfuffling. You're okay.
Good. Well, I was excited, first of all, for you two to meet each other.
Hi.
So-
Sean. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Sean has a head full of all kinds of information and facts and knows a lot about the law
Ooh.
and crime. And I think that you're going to have some overlapping interests.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. So
Are you a lawyer?
I'm not a lawyer.
No, you just know about the law. Okay, great.
I want to talk about Roe v. Wade, but before I do that, I was wondering if you guys might let me talk about something that just happened today locally.
No.
Okay.
Just-
So my church, we have been meeting in an old historic theater. My church is called Church on the Square in Georgetown, Texas. And we've been renting out this theater. It's called the Palace Theater. And it's operated by a nonprofit. And today our church got notice that we are evicted from the building effective immediately.
Oh no.
And they said that it was because of resource management problems. But they sent this in an email, and the guy that my pastor usually deals with is not answering his phone calls. Like clearly seems like he doesn't want to get on the phone. And I think that this might be because my pastor and a couple members of my church spoke at our recent city council meeting. And so, yeah, I think this might be retaliation for speaking at the meeting. And so Pirate has some images there. If you can put those up, Pirate. What they were speaking about is the local middle school, Forbes Middle School in Georgetown, Texas, just painted a mural in our town square. And they promoted it on Georgetown ISD. They promoted it on the Forbes Middle School page and on the Council for Arts in Georgetown, Texas. This was painted by middle schoolers who are, I think, 10 to 13 years old. If you go to the next slide, you can see a close-up of what they painted. So it looks innocuous at first. It says, be your own person. But then if you look down at the poppy, so Georgetown is the red poppy capital. We have this time of year, red poppies are everywhere. We have a big red poppy festival. Now, mixed in amongst the red poppies, there are flowers here. Do you see what those are?
I see the trans flag on there.
Yes.
I see the rainbow, the trans, and then everything else. I don't know what the hell they are, but I'm guessing some variation of some sort of pronoun. I don't know.
Yeah, they're all very specific. So these are flags. Like you said, there's the LGBT flag, there's the transgender flag, there is the non-binary flag, the bisexual flag, and the pansexual flag, lesbian flag, and I forget the last one.
Wait,
But
hang on. I have a question about this because I never understood the whole, like, we have our own flags, because I thought, like, you know, the LGBTQ, like the Skittles Nation flag, like kind of encompasses like all of the flags and like genders and well, not genders, but like the, you know, whatever orientation you swing. Why do they have their own flags? I don't get it. I'm not understanding this. Is there a reason?
I think originally, yes, the LGBT flag was supposed to cover everything, but they keep editing even that one and adding other colors like black and brown and things that are not in the rainbow.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Which it undercuts the overall symbolism, because wasn't part of the point of the rainbow is that it's all the colors of the rainbow
Yes.
fall under this banner. It's not
Yes.
racial. But then they
Yes.
put those like black and brown stripes on top. They're like, these are the superior gays and transit.
Yes.
Yes. Oh no.
Plus, the irony here of be your own person, and then you have these prescribed different identities that you can choose from.
Oh my
Like,
God. Yeah. Be your own person, but also like, I don't know, not of the collective, I guess. They just don't, they want you to just stand out. That's the message I'm getting, I guess. I don't know. Separate yourself from the collective.
yeah, in this way, in this specific way.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were rightly questioning how it is that a public school instructed middle schoolers, kids who are 10 years old, 13 years old, to paint these specific flags, the pansexual flag, transgender flag. And so there was a recent city council meeting, and they had someone there speaking about all the murals. And I just want to play a clip of my pastor spoke, and then two people from my church spoke. And so we'll just watch the first speech. We'll watch what my pastor had to say.
Okay.
Opportunity to speak, and you'll have 3 minutes, except for we have one person who has ceded their time. And so Mr. Helgerson, I believe, is that correct? And Pamela is here and available. Okay. So you'll have 6 minutes, Mr. Helgerson.
Thank you for your input.
I'm sorry.
I-
Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, I appreciate all of your views, and I enjoy the conversation that art sparks. And even if it brings to light differing opinions, I appreciate that. And I think that is the purpose of art. Thank
Can
you.
you,
for-
Thank
can you
you,
pause it for a second, Pirate? That woman, so one of the things she said when the city council was asking her about this specific, just this one mural, she said that art was open to interpretation, and she heavily implied that the colors of these flowers was just sort of random. So we're supposed to believe.
There's no intention.
Right. Which is randomly, they just happen to come out as these
It
specific
just
flags.
happened to look like the transgender flag and whatever else flag we've got going on. All right.
The kids randomly pick these flags that only like 2% of activists even know what they are.
Yeah, dude, I don't even know what they are, and I've on Twitter like on a daily basis. I have no idea what these flags are.
Right. And how does a 10-year-old know what the pansexual flag is? I mean, it's so specific. So, okay. So you can go ahead. So that was her just finishing her remarks.
Amanda, I want to say I think that the murals around town look great, and I hear nothing but compliments for the most part. So I'm sorry I concentrated on more negative. I apologize for that and not giving you some more positive. Most everything looks great.
Mr. Helgerson.
Good afternoon. My name is Bradley Helgerson, and I live at 701 South College Street. I also serve as the minister of the Word for the Church on the Square. My comments concern the mural that's been talked about on 7th Street that was painted by Forbes Middle School students, which contains the exhortation to be your own person above a field of poppy flowers painted in the colors of various LGBTQ pride flags, including the bisexual flag, pansexual flag, the transgender flag, the non-binary flag, and others, painted exactly to those colors. My remarks aim to provide some theological context for the ideology lurking behind this artistic expression, so that the council will not be deceived into thinking that it's merely an attempt to protect a few individuals, as it is often framed, but as I see it, for what it really is, which is an attempt to fundamentally reorder society. It's going to be somewhat abstract, but if you hang with me, it'll make sense, I think, in the end. But it wasn't long ago that we were primarily an agrarian people, meaning that our survival was totally dependent upon nature's mercy. And as a result, the authority of the created order was inescapable. The world was the way that it was, and if you refuse to conform yourself to it, the consequences would be catastrophic. So if you sowed too late or reaped too early, calamity would come upon you like a whirlwind. But wealth and its technology have allowed us to suppress that plain truth by often shielding us from the immediate consequences of our actions, the result of which is a cultural hubris, which is only emboldened with time and that now seeks to liberate itself, it seems, from all restraints, not only those which are agricultural, but those which are physiological, casting doubt upon creational distinctions which have stabilized Western civilization for millennia, like the important difference between men and women, a flouting of the natural order which cannot be done with immunity. Deny gravity by jumping off a high-rise building and the consequences are immediate. But if you deny biological gender, the consequences may be delayed, but they will be no less tragic. Which brings us to the Forbes mural and the Arts and Culture Board, which sponsored it. The purpose of culture is to transliterate the sacred order into the societal order, to give us the language, symbols, and practices necessary to not only understand the sacred, but to aid in our conformity to it. This is what art in its highest form is intended to do, to be a threshold to the transcendent, so that we might be conformed to its image. And thus, what every cultural institution is about, and what every piece of art is about, whether the artist knows it or not, is the project of conforming society to a particular vision of ultimate reality, establishing, if you will, God's will on earth as it is in heaven. But the eminent threat we face as a society at the moment is not that we have competing religious visions clamoring for our attention, but rather that there is a rebellion rising which seeks to destroy the sacred itself. An abolitionist movement which is driven by resentment, by what Herbert Marcuse called the great refusal, a description that he finds from Dante's Inferno. It's a kind of resentment, kind of a resentful hyper-individualism that will conform to nothing, which views, in other words, negation as an intrinsic good, which finds catharsis in bringing chaos out of order. Dante, as an aside, pictures these disgruntled deconstructionists as marching around the shores of Acheron, waving blank banners, for they protest merely for the sake of protesting, and therefore they belong in neither hell or heaven. Now, many have been fooled into thinking that such a rebellion against reality is an act of liberation, that when we tear down every norm, we will be left with a freer society, that true freedom comes when the shackles of the sacred are removed. But the work of the LGBTQ movement is not the work of liberation, but of liberationists, whose desire is to destroy the societal order itself, precisely because of its demand for conformity. In other words, it's not a matter of open-mindedness, but of closed-heartedness to right judgment that is the problem. Therefore, their goal is to remove all judgments, all boundaries, as is testified to by the endless numbers of genders and sexual orientations they affirm. It's a kind of self-loathing that finds momentary acceptance in destroying anything that might invite comparisons, anything that is true, good, and beautiful, like the beautiful conformity of red poppies. Now, I know this seems extreme in the context of one mural, but it's not just a mural. It's a piece of propaganda for an ideology that seeks to destroy Western civilization and to use our children as its foot soldiers. And so it's not culture that we're talking about, but it's anti-culture. And to refuse to push back against it now will mean the substantial loss of real liberty for our children in the future. I don't know what my time is at, but one last thing to say is there's two ways to go about it. One, we can try to slow the process down and try to remain neutral as much as we can. But all that will do is push the problem off to our children and grandchildren. What I suggest is we put an end to it, and whenever it rears its ugly head, we put it down. Thank you.
Thank you, Pirate.
That was great. I can see why you guys were kicked out.
Right?
That's tough, Keri. Can I just, I'll share my experience with you, because I've had a kind of similar experience, but different, similar but different. So as you know, I know Keri knows, Sean, you don't know, but I'm Persian, my nationality. I grew up in Iran, and I moved to Canada when I was like 10 years old. But before then, when I was in Iran, I went to like daycare and I went to, school and like different things. So when I was really young, I went to daycare and I had an art teacher, and he was really, he's been an extremely positive male influence in my life, especially when I was younger. And he taught me how to draw, and like everything I know about art, I know from him. And in my daycare, he used to paint murals because he was a painter and he was an artist, and he would make these murals And he made this, I remember he made this really amazing one where he had like the earth that he had painted with like mermaids that were children, like just kind of holding hands, like all along the like the earth thing. And it was really cool because like all of us kids were obsessed with mermaids, and we were all like learning about different cultures at the time. So like, you know, they had like, he had painted like every race and, you know, every, you know, creed, color, whatever you want to call it. And he got us to paint it because he put the actual like the outline out, and then he got us to help paint it so that we're, you know, part of that experience. The government of Iran did not like that painting. So because it was, you know, anti-Islamic, and, you know, it was showing skin of the mermaids, and, you know, they didn't want that kind of unification, kind of like, you know, messaging in the art for kids. So he had to get rid of it, and we had to actually paint over it. And it was like one of the most painful experiences of my life to paint over that painting that I really, really loved and I cherished and I worked on. It was really hard. But the thing is that I find that even in that, there was definitely a political messaging on his side. Like now that I think back, like I understand what he was doing, because he had a certain political stance, even though Iran's political stance was completely different. And he was expressing that through his art. And he was using us as a, as a catalyst to his messaging, even though his messaging was positive. I think it was a positive one. It was still one. It was a political message that was, you know, that we were being used to portray. Now, whether that's right or wrong, that's up for debate. But I think that in this case, this is a very similar situation where you clearly have someone who is an LGBTQ a person or whatever, as a teacher or whoever it is, and they want to put that political messaging in the art, and therefore they're using the kids, and the kids obviously don't know anything about what's going on. They're just like, oh, look, a bunch of flowers we're painting and it looks like rainbows and it looks like colors and we love it, and like, you know, that's what they're thinking. So is it using people to get your political messaging across? Yes. Is it harmful? I don't know. Like that's I don't know if it is. So that's my story. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is an interesting topic for me, because it just kind of like reminded me of what happened to me when I was a kid. So
well,
yeah.
I mean, I would say there's a difference or a distinction between like a general like unity message, like we're all one like group of people and all that, and like the very specific individual flags. Like even if we were just talking about the rainbow flag, like I know people would have issues with it, but the rainbow flag is broadly considered to be just a symbol for like non-straight orientations and all that. And also kids paint rainbows like outside of the context
all
of
the time.
gays.
Yeah.
So you get like
It's
plausible
also a
deniability.
Christian symbol. Like I don't mind the rainbow at all because it has lots
Right.
of different meanings.
So if you had like rainbow flowers or different color flowers, then it could have that meaning, but it wouldn't be so in your face like all these like niche flags that
Yeah.
only political activists know about, and Apple, because they're going to make emojis of all of them if they haven't already. So like it's clearly meant to be like, here are all the marginalized groups and they're in their own separate tiers and all of that. And it's on public property. So I understand like if it's your pastor that was speaking there, if you try to put like the 10 Commandments or a religious symbol on public property, they would get sued and that would get taken down. And this
There
is
you
like
go.
a whole other, you know, ideology being put forward.
Yeah, because in my country, in Iran, like they didn't mind having pictures of fucking Khomeini painted everywhere, and like, you know, having like his, you know, because they worship the guy. So like, you know, we had like there was murals of him everywhere, and like that wasn't a problem. But you know, God forbid you have a bunch of like little mermaids, like, you know, singing Kumbaya and like holding hands and like being of every different race. That's a problem, because they didn't want that kind of unification message to be spread. I think that what you're saying is really interesting, Sean, because you're right. And also like, if they had done it like different flowers, or if they had done it just the rainbow one, like maybe, but all these different like pansexual flag and like whatever else, this is a clear political message that person, whoever the teacher was trying to get across.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm down with that.
Yeah, I think if because I've thought about this a lot. I really appreciate you guys thinking through it with me. I think if it had been, even if kids hadn't painted it, I would have a problem with it because, like you said, it's public funds, it's on public property, taxpayer funded, and it has a very specific ideology. But then add to it that they used kids to do it, that makes it just
Icky.
beyond the pale to me. It is icky. And I wonder if all those parents were notified that this is what their kids were painting and this is what these flags mean, if they were even given the option of, opting their kid out of participating.
I don't think so. I'll
probably
tell you
not.
straight up, no, that is not something that would happen.
Well-
Because it's easier to ask for forgiveness than for permission, right? Because you're not gonna go and like write a freaking letter to every parent, be like, "Yo, can you please give me permission to do this?" That's not happening. I'll be right back.
And it's also like they'll boldly lie to your face and say, "Oh, well, this is again just coincidence. It has nothing to do with anything. You're reading into it." It's like, if it was rainbow flowers, like if they just use different colors of the rainbow for each of the flowers, then you could say somebody's reading into it, even if like the teacher was a member of like the LGBTQ XXI community. Like you could say that people are just reading into it, but it's these very specific flags that for sure
Yeah.
are meant to mean like these very specific things within the transes community and the LGBT community that, again, most people don't even use. Like one of my closest friends is a gay dude, and he would consider himself very left wing. And he tells me, he's like, I don't know what these genders are. I don't know what these flags are. He's significantly younger than me. He's like mid-20s, and he doesn't know any of this stuff, or he doesn't know even close to like 10% of this stuff. It's very specific ideologies that like are being brought forth into the classroom and being displayed on public property.
Well,
Yeah.
and you can't fault them for not knowing because they're changing every day. It's like every day there's a new one, and every day there's a new term, and every day there's a new pronoun. I can't keep up. Like I'm just like I can't keep up with you people.
Yeah, you're making me think of an image I saw this morning, Sean. I'm sending this to you right now, Pirate, on Telegram. A friend of mine shared this. She's a lesbian, and it's to your point about your friend who doesn't feel like he identifies with this movement or with these flags or what have you. If you could put that one up whenever you get it, Pirate, that would be great. But yeah, I think I have a lot of issues with it, as I've said. What I think is beautiful that's come out of it is I really love that my pastor got to speak in front of the council. Oh yeah, so this is the image my friend shared. It's
Oh my god.
it's a furry of some kind, a big cartoon character, and that says LGBTQ community who's lunging towards a dog who's trying to get away. It says me, a homosexual. Yeah, so I think
That's a great meme.
Yeah. But I was happy he got to speak. And I wanted to say, by the way, if that's anybody's first time hearing my pastor speak, that's what all of his sermons are like. He's so people were calling him base, but he's also just so thoughtful, and he brings in, he was talking about Herbert Marcuse. He brings in different writers and thinkers and philosophy, and he connects everything to what is currently unfolding in the world. And I think it probably went over the heads of some people. I think city council was just expecting anybody who spoke to sort of get up there and be like, we don't like the gays, like.
Yeah.
And he's like, let's talk about culture and the purpose of art and what is anti-culture and how.
Well, you know what though? Like sometimes these kind of things happen, and like I know this is like this is my cup half full kind of gal, infinite hope gal, right? You guys got kicked out of this place that you're at. I don't know. I feel like maybe God's got something better, when God closes a door, he opens a window kind of thing, right? Maybe there's like a better place that you guys can go and congregate, because you don't want to be in a place where like people think badly of you, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like they have this negative energy towards you being there. It's like, no, you need to be in a good place where like that line of thought is like, the same or positive, or, they're not giving you bad energy when you're there. So don't think of it like as something necessarily like too bad. Maybe maybe like just around the corner, there's like a perfect location and you never even thought about it until this happened, you know?
Yeah, I
You
agree
know.
with you. Yeah, I also, for anyone I do know, I have some viewers who are in Georgetown. This Sunday, we haven't figured out where we're meeting yet. It's Mother's Day Sunday. They did it with 2 days notice right before Mother's Day. But
Ugh.
we might be meeting just on the lawn. Anyway, if you guys are in Georgetown and want to come, just hit me up and I'll let you know where we're meeting once we figure it out. But thanks guys for letting me talk about that. It just happened today and it's like, what?
Of
Like,
course. I mean, it's annoying.
you're
Like,
kicked out.
it's BS. By the way, yeah,
Yeah.
happy early Mother's Day, everybody. To all the moms
Happy-
out there.
Yes, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. So, was anything else happening in the news this week?
Oh my God.
Okay.
Not much. Not much at all. Just some psycho chick on a stand, like, you know, one of the biggest trials of our time.
Yeah.
And I think something about like baby killing or something. I don't know. Something
Yeah.
like
The
that.
Roe v. Wade stuff. Let's talk about that first, I guess. The fact that it was leaked. I mean,
Somebody
I'm not
said
gonna...
I hate my mom. Like, in the chat.
That's beside the point.
She gave birth to you, though. That hurts. It's okay. You can still say Happy Mother's Day.
So, aside from the fact that it was leaked early, which I think a lot of people have already speculated on why that happened, I definitely am of the opinion that it was leaked in order to try and influence the elections. What do you guys think about that?
Go ahead, John.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. You go. I said go ahead, John.
Yeah. In terms of leaking it to gin up like hysteria before the election, it's a terrible strategy because this was going to come out closer to the election. It was going to come out next month or the month after that, like, you know, late June, July. So my original conspiracy theory was it was actually leaked by Roberts or Alito to try to get some public backlash because this was just a draft opinion from February and maybe they were going to trim it back. Because my original thought on this Mississippi case was that they were going to just do it in the confines of the Mississippi law, which was reduce the threshold from 20 to 24 weeks back to 15 weeks. I'm not sure about that now. I've heard rumors that it was somebody who worked for Justice Sotomayor that's leaked it. And somebody told me the name was out there, but it hasn't been confirmed as far as I could tell. So
it hasn't been confirmed, but a lot of people are assuming what you said. I don't know. That's what I've heard so far.
Can you tell us, Sean, about the Mississippi case?
Oh, so Mississippi, like, to make it as simple as possible, reduce the threshold in which you could get an abortion to 15 weeks from the 20 to 24 weeks, depending on how Roe versus Wade is interpreted. That is like the standard in the United States of America, which, by the way, is well beyond the standard in Europe. Like the average European nation has about 12 weeks. Even the 15 weeks is beyond the standard in Europe.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, most European countries, I think France has a long period, but most European countries have around 10 to 12 weeks. So, which is probably where we would have ended up if not for Roe versus Wade. Again, you're deciding a decision based on viability in 1973 and technology changes and all of this. So viability is like an ever moving standard. But Mississippi basically confined abortion to the first 15 weeks. You know, they have their waiting periods and all that, but that's like, it's really the 15 weeks thing. They took it to the courts because obviously people say the judges throw it out because they say it's not in line with Roe versus Wade. And that was taken up to the Supreme Court. And typically what these conservatives like to do, because they don't want to ever take a stand or overturn anything, is they very narrowly decide these cases. Like Hobby Lobby was closely knit corporations can have some religious exemptions on some forms of birth control. The McDonald versus Chicago or DC versus Heller was specifically guns in common use. You can't do the handgun bans. It didn't say anything about regulations that are effectively bans, and it only applied to in the home. So that's what I was expecting from the court. The decision from Alito, or the draft decision, is a total rebuke of Roe versus Wade, which is something that I was actually surprised about.
I hate talking about abortion because I feel like it's such a personal thing, you know, for a lot of people. But I think that with regards to the leak, I think that it was, like, personally speaking, I think it was done to strong arm a judge to change their tune, like to for them to say like, no, never mind, like, we're not gonna vote this way, like one of the Republican judges. I don't know. It's really weird because I feel like this is such a personal decision for a lot of people, but at the same time, there's like certain things that it's abortion is one of those things I don't like think about on a daily basis. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like something that's like totally in my line of thinking all the time. But I do know it's one of the pillars for like the like the elections, right? Like it's usually gay marriage, abortion, economy, guns. Those are like the pillars of American I don't know, the voter concerns and immigration as well.
The divisive issues that they
The divisive
campaign on.
issues, immigration, guns, abortions, gay marriage, which gay marriage is no longer one because now gay marriage is legal. So I think that the reason I bring up that I don't think about it all the time is that because of this issue that's actually going on now, I've actually gotten to know some things that I never wanted to know in my life. Like, I was like, I didn't know this was a thing. I don't want it to be a thing. This shouldn't be a thing. And that's something that's like with regards to what you were talking about, Sean, like the extent of like how long you can not or have an abortion to, like the length of time, is the idea that people are aborting now, like after the baby is born, like meaning like they're putting this whole law in California where you can abort up to like 8 weeks or something like that after the baby is born. And I'm like, that's like, okay, look,
Wait.
like
Wait, what is that?
Yeah,
I've
actually looked into that law, and it's more it's not really like you can commit infanticide. Like, there's specific provisions in there that say that you can't. But what used to happen is that if you did like an abortion at home because it was like too late in the pregnancy to go to a clinic in California, then that would get referred to a coroner and they would make a determination on whether or not this constitutes a criminal homicide. And they changed the deadline, and they basically said that like the coroner there's no reporting requirement, and the reporting requirement even like has to do with babies that are born that die within 8 days. Like, it's not a mandatory hospital reports it to the state. So then it gets referred for an investigation. Like, that's what that legislation is about. So people have said like, oh, well, you could kill, like, the kid could die like 6 days, 7 days after birth. And technically the hospital is not obligated to report it to the coroner for an investigation for potential prosecution. And that got kind of garbled into like, oh, they're allowing post-birth abortions.
Well, and now that is getting traction though, Sean. So like, I mean, I've seen stuff like on TikTok where like somebody is going around and like interviewing, these leftist social justice warriors or whatever. And they're talking about how like, yeah, it's the mom's right if they like, up to a year, if
What?
it's the mother's right to not want this baby, and it's the mother's choice. If they don't want to keep it, they can kill it, essentially. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, listen, we can talk about like that. The debate on whether a fetus, like a tiny little thing in your belly, has a soul or is alive. It's sure we can debate that all day. But late term abortions, and then this is like the next level after like even late term abortions, where it's actually been born and it's a living being, and it's like you're fucking holding it in your arms, and it's there, and then you're talking about killing it. That to me is like straight up murder. There's no ifs and buts. It's just like the whole map thing for me. Like, no, the wall. I'm sorry. If you're killing your babies, fuck right off. Like, I don't care.
If you want to get really crazy, just look into the up to 2 year, like there's like academics that write about how it's philosophically justified to kill a baby up to 2 years after it's born.
I can't
dependent
with this.
on the mother. And like we had a history way back in the day when resources were more scarce of infanticide. Like, if you have limited food and you need young men to work the field, than you killed the like girl babies back in, you know, like 600 years ago, or in some cultures now that have very limited resources. So they would make those arguments that it's still dependent on the mother, and, you know, like, therefore, like, you should be able to kill it. But again, like 2 years, there's a bunch of academic research, and some of those academics that wrote papers like that were appointed to regulatory positions in the Obama administration. So like that philosophy does exist, but it's not like as widespread as people are making it seem.
Yeah, but at the
Right.
same time, Sean, it's like neither was, I don't know, like transgenderism and like, you know, the ideas of like, you know, having a fucking rainbow of different, you know, pronouns and blah blah blah. Like that was kind of fringe back in the day. And now look at us. Like, I mean, look at this painting, this mural that has been painted. So, you know, how long before those like really fringe ideas become completely accepted? This is what the pedos are doing too. They're like, oh, like, you know, the pedos should be part of the, you know, the LGBTQ thing. Like
The
it's
rainbow.
like, yeah, the rainbow. Like we deserve to be a part of that. It's like, no, you don't. You deserve the ball. Stop it. It's not. You're not. This is not a sexual orientation. Why is it even up for discussion? Like I don't know.
Their flag is creepy too. It's the LGBT flag, but in like pastel colors, so it looks very kiddie. Like
For kids.
They have
like-
a flag.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they call themselves MAPS now, minor attracted
Yeah.
persons, but their
I
flag
know.
is the LGBT flag, but in pastel colors. So it's like, oh, what are you doing?
Yeah.
To your point, Sean, I have not seen academics arguing. I'll take your word for it that they're arguing up to 2 years. I'm sure that people have argued that, and I'm just not aware of it. But I have seen academics arguing on behalf of pedophilia. Libs of TikTok has exposed some of those who are making that argument that it's just an orientation, and we need to remove the stigma.
Lives of TikTok is the whole reason Florida came up with that bill was because of Lives of TikTok, because they were just sick of it. They're like, dude, no, we've had enough of these teachers going and teaching our kids about really weird stuff that we don't want to be talking about. Here is this is something that was going around. I'm putting it in the private chat. This is something that was going around that just made me. This is what I was like talking about the what is it called?
Infanticide.
Infanticide. Oh, God, I can't believe that's even a thing. Like it's like it makes me go crazy. I didn't even know about it until I saw this. Oh, there's no audio. Oh, there is now.
So basically, like if they have their baby, they can neglect them for 7 days, and if the baby dies, then they can't be held criminally liable. What do you think?
Yeah, I think whatever like helps women and helps them achieve their like dreams and however that needs to like happen is definitely acts to help. That is helping all of us. So
I prefer that most women make their decisions at 8 weeks, but I'm also in support of 10 months out of the womb.
So you think babies should be aborted 10 months after they're born?
If the mother wants to, yes.
I think fuck them kids. So if like you want to get a late term abortion, like that's up to you. You know, I've had an abortion too, and it was my choice, and I'm happy I had that choice. I've had an abortion myself.
Would you guys get an abortion again?
Yes,
100%.
100 times. I'd do it multiple times
Until I feel that I'm ready to parent. That's a choice I'll continue to make.
So basically,
So, and that's the other thing that comes up for me is the idea of using like abortions as a form of birth control. Like that drives me fucking crazy. I'm like, this is never meant to be a form of birth control. Like you could get an IUD. My God, I don't understand. It's not that hard. Like Jesus.
I understand exactly why you don't like talking about this issue, Nina, and it's hard to do because people are so passionate, no matter what their position is. I don't usually like talking about it because my opinions are in flux. They've changed a lot in the past couple of years, and I know they're still changing. But one thing I'm sure of is that culturally, I think we have a very unhealthy idea of what abortion is now. And I think that the pro-choice movement, which used to talk about making abortions safe, legal, and rare, they were lying. I believed that. I believed that was the goal. I don't think anymore that that's the goal, because I think we've seen culturally in the past few years this shift to where, you know, there's these shout your abortion campaigns. There's this attitude of it's somehow, you know, a form of empowerment, and it's about women's right, and women being the like these girls in the video were just saying, you know, it's my right as a woman. And I think it's just become so perverted. I've seen disgusting TikTok
It's so
videos as well.
perverted.
Yeah.
It's so disgusting. And you know what? I'm sorry, but after the last 2 years, the whole my body, my choice thing is out the window for me anyways. It's like okay, so you guys all want to have an opinion on what comes out of my body. What about what goes in my body? Because I don't want to get a vaccine. But you know what? If I don't, then I can't work, I can't travel, I can't do this, I can't have a life because, you know, some pharmaceutical companies say I have to have this thing done to my body. It's like, no, you gave up that right when you mandated vaccines, when you're, you know, start talking about my body, my choice. I'm sorry. I think it's hypocritical.
Well,
yeah. No, it's first of all, the regardless of what the and Savannah is talking about the same video over there. By the way, I love Savannah. Go follow her, support her in her new ventures and all that. But regardless of the accuracy of like how she's describing the 7-day after period, because again, it has to do with investigations. The fact that all those people are biting on this and saying, yeah, I'm into it, I support it and all that is crazy. And I unfortunately did find some articles of professors arguing for post-birth abortion. And I threw them in the private chat. There's a professor from 99 in Australia. And then there's 2 philosophers that argued for it in the other one. And the funniest part about the Slate article, because you got to find humor in this, is that they say that partial birth abortion is a crazy term invented by religious nut jobs. But after birth abortion, oh, that's actually from 2 philosophers. And here's their case on why that's okay.
Oh my God, this is so sick.
Oh, wow. Wait, can I just read from some of this?
Yeah, go ahead.
After-birth abortion. This is the Slate article.
Now, it doesn't seem like the Slate article is like supporting it, but they are summarizing the views, the theory of the philosophers.
The pro-choice case for infanticide. Yeah, they're not supporting it. They are summarizing it. They say, you're right. They say partial birth abortion is a term made up, invented by pro-lifers, but after-birth abortion is a term invented by philosophers. 2 philosophers, Alberto something and Francesca Minerva. In the Journal of Medical Ethics, they propose, quote, when circumstances occur after birth, such that they would have justified abortion, what we call after-birth abortion should be permissible. We propose to call this practice after-birth abortion, rather than infanticide, to emphasize that the moral status of the individual killed is comparable with that of a fetus, rather than to that of a child. Therefore,
I can't with this.
I'm sorry.
I can't with this. No,
Well,
it's
stop.
fine.
Yeah.
No, you don't even have to. I'm just saying I can't with this. This is like the most twisted logic that I've ever fucking heard. These people are murderers or straight up like trying to, you know, justify murdering babies. And it's just like the maps. It's like the whole thing with the maps. It's like, oh, we're just going to twist this ideology to be like, let us diddle kids. It's like, no, quit diddling kids, quit murdering babies. This is fucked up.
So,
but look how they sell it though. They sell it by wrapping it in like concern for someone. They have to put the concern somewhere. No concern for the baby, but they say therefore we claim that killing a newborn could be ethically permissible in all the circumstances where abortion would be. Such circumstances include cases where the newborn has the potential to have an at least acceptable life, but the well-being of the family is at risk.
Yeah, so I actually love stuff like this, because if you think about it, like, what is the difference between a baby that is like 10 minutes from being born versus 10 minutes after? Like, we would argue nothing, right? Even if you're pro-choice, as long as you're normal, like, you would argue nothing, right? Like, I acknowledge that there's a difference between something that doesn't have a heartbeat or doesn't have brain waves. Like, I like Nuance Bro's argument that we determine death by the death of brain activity, so we should determine life by the start of brain activity. I actually find that very like compelling, actually, as a pro-choice argument. But like what these guys
do
are
too.
doing is just taking that like philosophical basis for late term abortions and applying it to like an infant 2 years later. So weirdly, they're making the professors are a sincere, like super pro-choice argument that even includes infanticide. But in reality, they're kind of making a pro-life argument because it's so off-putting to like the average
Yes.
person that you're like,
To
oh,
a normal human being. Yeah. You're
yeah.
like, oh, like, no, that's not what I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Andrew says in chat, can we have a 240-month late term abortion for some of these lunatics?
Wow.
And let me see. The Force of Light is here. Hello, ladies.
Hey.
Force of Light. Force of Light says it's only a baby, Keri. If the child is wanted, that's when they call it a baby. Yeah, I have noticed this weird thing that happens where just on social media and stuff, again, culturally, the way we think about this issue now, I've seen celebrities when they have miscarriages, they treat it like a baby, but then they support abortion. And
Oh my God.
that thing that is doesn't sit right with me entirely. This is one of the reasons I'm questioning my views, because it's like, so it becomes a baby because you wanted it, but otherwise it's just a fetus. And so I don't know. I'm rethinking everything.
This is speaking of miscarriages. I read this today. We don't have to read the whole thing, but I saw this and I was like, this is the kind of stuff that's like super insensitive, really freaking dumb. You're trying to make like a point about abortion, and then you're bringing in, miscarriages. It's such a hard thing for women to go through, and men, and like fathers that are wanting a child. I mean, this is it's disgusting. It's gross. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just so icky. All this conversation is just so icky to me. Like,
I saw this guy. So this is a blue check mark. Can you make it a little bit larger, Pirate? Alex Falcone. He on Twitter, he says, this is a change of tone for me on here, but I don't think anybody actually believes that fetuses are people. I think they're lying. There are almost 1 million miscarriages each year in America. It happens to almost everybody, but we're not constantly getting invited to the funerals. This is so ghoulish, like, in my opinion.
He goes in deeper, like into this weird.
People actually do have funerals for miscarriages. Now, I will acknowledge that it's typically for later on, but like, again, the idea that like a miscarriage, I just see that right there where he's like, abortion is murder, therefore miscarriage is suicide. No, miscarriage is like a death. You know what I mean? You don't consider like if your kid got like a cold or got like a severe disease and like smallpox back in the day and died, nobody would consider that suicide. It's like something that can happen, you know. It's very weird.
Yeah, it's like you could have an accident. Like you could have, it's just the most basic thing. You could wake up one day and then it's gone. And it's just the most horrific thing that a woman goes through, especially with regards to like late term miscarriages. And like it's such a devastating thing to the body, to the psyche. And then for this guy to just make light of it, like, oh my God, like if nobody who says abortion is murder is out, carrying signs of miscarriages are suicides. It's like, dude, shut up. Why don't you have some empathy a little bit, like just a little bit?
Yeah.
It's
nothing.
a lot of the pro-choice arguments that are being put forward by the left. Like I gave you one of the ones that I actually think is compelling. And
I think so too.
Pro. And I think he was actually like he goes out and interviews people, so he might have just been contradicting the pro-life people, and then because he immediately contradicted the pro-choice people because that's what he does. But like there was one from Anna Kasparian. It's like it's a rant. It was posted by it was reposted by E. Miles Chung, and it was posted by Nuance Bro as well, where she basically is making the argument that like childcare is not affordable. So like, what do you expect these parents to do when they have to go to work? Which is like the worst argument of all time. It's like if I was about to kill a homeless person and Keri told me to stop killing a homeless person, I was like, well, are you going to let him live in your house? And she said, no. And I'm like, well, then you can't say anything about
Then shut up. Yeah.
Like, you're right. You're right. That's exactly, yeah.
like the contradiction to whether or not it's murder, like is a discussion about dependent life versus independent life, and like all the things that actual well thought out like philosophers have brought up to have this debate. But like all these lefties stopped at like, well, woman body, woman choice, therefore, and then that's it. But like, even then, like it's just like it's like they've never had to make the case. It's
They
just
don't.
horrible.
Yeah, the pro-choice case, in my opinion. So I've had people ask me recently, even in talking about what's going on in the news, about my current opinion on it. Here's my sticking point. I do believe my like I said, my opinions have changed a lot. I came up in the feminist part of social justice. I came to think of it as the way a lot of people do in that world and that cult, that it's no different than having your tonsils removed.
Me
There's
too.
nothing right, and that's completely horrible that I ever felt that way about it. And I do think it is immoral, and I do think it's obviously killing, it's murder. But under the law, my sticking point is I also don't like giving the government the right to dictate to a woman what she does with her body. For me, it's obvious, the issue of viability. Once the baby can survive outside the womb, no question, I don't think you should be able to get an abortion. Because why shouldn't you just deliver at that point? Because the issue is, this is one of the few cases I can think of where you have two bodies occupying one space. And so how do you, under the law, how do you, I guess the issue for me has been, how do you tell that woman that she has to carry that baby to term, and the baby can't survive on its own up until a certain point, right? I'm still grappling with this. I know there's going to be people in the chat who disagree with me, and I welcome that because I'm still thinking all this through. But that's the pro-choice argument, as I see it, is the government having the power to tell an individual woman, you must carry this to term, and there's going to be punishments under the law if you don't, up until the point that the baby can survive outside the womb. They don't make that case anymore anyway. And as you pointed out, Nina, they've lost all credibility. Anyone who's out there right now arguing about bodily autonomy, if they supported the mask mandates and the vaccine mandates, I don't want to hear from you. That what you're saying is bullshit, because you don't actually support bodily autonomy, so you don't get to make that argument and have any credibility now when you don't support it across the board. So
Yeah,
that's
like
not
that was one of the things I read from Trudeau, of course. Came out and put a tweet out like, Canada supports women and like, getting abortions, and in Canada, come get abortions for free, y'all. Like, come on out to Canada, like kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, obviously he didn't say that, not in so many words, but that's what he was like, just trying to virtue signal that in Canada, this is never gonna change. And I just kind of like tweeted back at him like, can I have like bodily autonomy when it comes to vaccines? Like, because he was just kind of like, women have so many rights like in Canada, and I'm like, no, we don't. I still can't travel to my country because I'll never be able to leave if I do, because I'm still pure blood or whatever you want to call it. Like, it's just not. This is such a bullshit thing that they're going through. And for me, like, Keri, we're from somewhat of the same school of thought, because I used to be like you, a social justice warrior, and like, grew up with like classic leftist ideologies, liberals. As a teenager, I was very much like, indoctrinated into thinking like abortion is, because I grew up in Canada, abortion is like nothing. Like, if you have a problem, and if you get knocked up, take care of it, no problem, so it wasn't like a big deal. And like, but when I got into a steady relationship, and as I was growing up, and the idea of the prospect of becoming pregnant became more prevalent in my in my thought. Like, I have to actually be careful. I have to, like, if I don't want a kid, I actually have to put in an effort to, like, have protected sex or whatever. And then my partner, we started talking about some of these things, because as you do when you're with a steady partner. And then, I start being like, if I get pregnant, I'm going to have an abortion kind of thing. And he was like, excuse me, you know, and that we have this conversation of like, well, what about my thoughts? And, you know, I'm going my body by choice, and he's going, well, it would be mine too. Like, do I get an opinion? You know, and, you know, we have these nuanced conversation that's very difficult at the time, but my ideology evolved as I grew, because I realized, well, first of all, that's something that I mean, like, I'm sorry, but if you're even considering abortion, like, it's one of those things, because I mean, I've considered it before, because I've never had one, but I've considered it when I've had a scare. Like, I was like, you know, when I was very young, I had a scare, and I was like, if I am pregnant, like, would I go and have an abortion, you know? And the thought of it was terrifying, because it's not like a willy-nilly thing. It's like, it takes a toll on your psyche, on your, you know, on your body. And then you think to yourself, what if for the rest of your life? Like, it's not like, you know, what if I had this kid? Did I make a mistake? You know, and there's a lot of women that I know now personally that have made that choice, that have regretted it in the future. You know, there a lot of them are like, you know, maybe I shouldn't have done that, you know, and I regret that choice, but it's something that they have to live with. And it's like, you know, I was always thinking about, like, do I want to live like that? And then it came to me later on in my life that this is something that now I kind of understand from the religious point of view, where the, like, you know, and that's something that a lot of like atheists and other, you know, other people don't want to talk about, is the idea that sex is sacred, and the idea that having, like, consummating your relationship and like having sex is something that's supposed to be a sacred thing that brings life, and therefore it shouldn't be recreationally practiced all the time. And the reason that we're doing that now is because we have this sheer hubris of like, oh, well, we have birth control and we have this and we have that, but the ideas that come with, you know, having a very concrete relationship where you're like, you know, I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with this person who is not going to abandon me and my baby, and having that security causes you to want to have a child. You don't want to, like, you know, you're not, you don't think that you're going to be left alone and raising this baby by yourself, and therefore, like, you know, you make different choices. But, you know, I'm not against people who've had abortions, because I understand, again, there's gray in life. There's, like, life is not black and white. Certain things happen. Just like what you said, Keri, I'm not about governments having any form of control about whether or not you put anything in your body or take it out of your body. Stay away from my fucking body. That's between me and my doctor, you know, like, that's, and my family, my husband, you know, like, that's the kind of decisions that we make together as like humanity. Government shouldn't have any say on this. But again, it's nuance. And I think that that's the thing that we have to teach kids now, is the idea of why sex is sacred. And I think that's the conversation that's lost along the way, because everyone's like, let's just go have sex, like, you know. And I don't know, I'm not about that anymore.
No,
that was my big speech, sorry.
You've won over many in the crowd. Like, what I will say is that I think Roe, the decision itself, has made this issue so much more polarizing than it actually is, or than it actually would have been absent Roe. Because again, you look at European countries, they've all kind of arrived around the same area. Like, the Roe decision caused like a 50-year pro-life movement to come out in this nation. So, like, at this point, you see, like, you know, even in the chat right now, like, you see the polarization between people, because you know, like, it's just been, anytime you have the court arbitrarily decide on something for the whole country top down, you're going to get a negative reaction. And even like the left wing, the way that they're ginning up hysteria about this reaction is pretending that the court like flipped it and they banned abortion nationwide, which is not the case.
It's not the case at all.
They just kicked it back to the states how it normally was. But yeah, so like the whole issue is super polarizing in America because of this reason, like 100%. And again, like, I would say there's definitely a huge difference between, you know, 6 weeks and 6 months. And like, there's like this weird thing where like, you know, even in the chat right now, people are talking about partial birth. I mean, we even started talking about like infanticide, like two years after. Like, these are like the fringe cases. If you look at the numbers, it's something like 92% of all of these procedures are performed before the first 12 weeks, which again would be more in line with Europe. So like, it's it's a very polarizing thing, and I think the first thing that most of us should agree on, if we're not like crazy, is maybe coming more in line with the Europeans. Like the Mississippi 15 weeks thing to me is not crazy at all. I mean,
No.
honestly, again, it's less restrictive than other places. And
Mm.
like I think the pro-life actually have time on their side, and they have technology on their side, because as we've gotten better imaging technology and all this, we can see 3D renderings of what's in the womb earlier and earlier. So like that really like assists. But I also want to point out that a lot of people who get like an abortion, like they're not like never becoming mothers. Like I know we see these crazies like that Savannah will interview or anybody will interview that are like, oh, I've had 8 abortions this week, like somehow, like,
Yeah.
you know, we see all those people. But a lot of the data does show us that these people are delaying motherhood rather than just denying motherhood like altogether.
But also that like the ones that do though, there's many cases of people who've had repeat abortions that can't get pregnant later
It's
on in
harder.
life. It's much harder, and then they like some people just can't.
Yeah.
So I mean, like this is what I'm talking about. This is an invasive procedure, you guys. It's not something that is just willy-nilly like the left wants to make you. Like there was a movie that one of the very first movies that I reviewed on my channel was about this thing. It was called what was it called? It was a movie about abortion on HBO, and it was about how these 2 teenage girls are going, like, you know, they're traveling across the state so that this, like, you know, 16, 17-year-old girl can go get an abortion in another state because abortion's not legal in her state, and she has to have parental permission to get abortion. So it's like this has been in the works for like years. And I also find it really funny, Sean, that people who are like the leftists who argue this whole Roe v. Wade thing, they're like, men shouldn't make laws for women, and like, you know, I'm like, wasn't like the people who made Roe v. Wade like all men? Like I don't understand this whole line of that, like that men shouldn't be making laws, even though the one that they're fighting for was made by all men. I'm like, I don't what?
Yeah,
That's just
It's
Go ahead.
7 men that ruled on a totally male court. And I've heard the argument that the justices weren't appointed by democratically elected presidents because Bush lost the popular vote and Trump lost the popular vote. So that's 4 of the 5 justices. But like 6 states had legal elective abortions when way back in the 70s. 30 states had outright bans, and 20 states had this circumstance but not that circumstance kind of thing. So like this never had majority support in the country.
Right.
Like, back in the day. It's changed now because people tend to go with what's normal. Like, you know, a bunch of more people were against gay marriage, and then all of a sudden gay marriage was legalized. We don't even hear about it anymore. So
No.
I actually think the polling will shift as this ruling comes out, because most people don't pay attention to politics, and they assume if like the high court decided it, it's probably right. It's probably fine.
Yeah. I think the mood is shifting. Do you guys mind if we pause for a second and read some super chats?
I was just gonna say, Keri, we should get some super chats.
Thank you. I know pirates. Wait, I didn't want to. Anyway,
That's fine.
Dr. Wolf Star, $10 says Sean just put out the laziest video of his entire career, blatantly incorrectly implying Dave Chappelle's attacker was a triggered lefty when his motive is in his past songs. He planned this since 2020.
Yeah. So I did a video where I shot it. Like what a lot of you don't know is I shoot the video and then I upload it and wait for YouTube to clear it, and then I publish it. So yeah, at the time that I shot the video, which by the way, I didn't say that it was a triggered lefty or anything like that. I actually said the most likely outcome is it's a crazy obsessed with Dave Chappelle. So you didn't pay attention to the video. And I say clearly that I don't know. And then I just go into different examples of like, hey, look, maybe like there is a precedent being set from like the whole Will Smith thing that you could just attack a comedian. I'm like, maybe this was somebody angry because people have been comparing Dave Chappelle's words to violence. But my overall takeaway was the fact that this was likely just a crazy person, because this happens to celebrities all the time. So
he seemed very unhinged. But like that thing about the video thing, I totally relate, because I just recently made a video about Andy Dick and you know, his what he's going through right now. And like literally like right when I was about to upload it, things changed with Andy Dick's life. So like he went from like living in like that one person's house to like the other person's house and like in an RV and blah blah blah. And I had so many people in my comments like, no, this isn't what's going on now. Like things have changed. And I'm like they changed in like a day while my video was being made and rendered. I'm not going to go and rewrite and redo everything for this video so that I can get you the most updated material, which is going to change in an hour. So it's just not going to happen, you know? So sometimes you got to keep that in mind, you guys, as viewers.
I made a video. Hold on. I made a video guessing the verdict in the Chauvin case. And in the day that it took YouTube to clear it, the jury came back. Because if you remember, they came back super quick. So I was like, crap. So I threw it out there and like hoping that I would beat the jury returning. Like I just like no premiere, no time. And then every comment is like, he was found guilty. He was found guilty. He was found guilty. He was found guilty. I'm like, I even put like pre-verdict, like this is my guess on what might happen.
Yeah.
Right? Which I said guilty was a possibility. I wasn't saying he would be found not guilty, but people were like, oh, like it's the worst when that
They
happens.
get so mad. You're like, I'm just doing videos, man. Calm down.
You skipped over Orange and Ninja Turtle.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back.
Hi,
Demanji says, "Hail me and Keri. What's up, Sean?
Hi.
Hello. Is the Orange Ninja Turtle a fan?
A fan / troll, but he throws money so we could read his super chat. So
okay, he says Sean is my favorite LGBT YouTuber. I'm super happy for his inspiring relationship with my Carlo.
Wow.
Thank you, Orange Ninja Turtle. You already know that's not the case, but it's okay.
He's got one more. I'll just read them back to back. Sean, if you ever might get man pregnant, will you guys keep it? LGBTP for proud of you, Sean. You've got someone who doesn't like you, who follows you around and gives money.
That's great. I don't mind that at all.
I think I inherited him from Mike Harlow because I feel like I first saw him when I was on Mike's channel, and then he comes around every now and again.
I know who this is, I think. Okay. Yeah. Thomas St. Thomas, hello, sir, says the core issue is how we value a human, by its literal material properties or by its potential. It's always potential until we get to this issue.
By the way, really cute icon. Oh, that's really cute.
G-Man, can we please stop calling it after birth abortion? It's just plain murder.
Yes, I'm so in agreement with this. It's like like I said with you, Sean, like I can understand that there's you can make that argument when it's like a little bean in your stomach or whatever, but like when it's freaking to full term, like even at 6 months, dude, no, like just stop it. Like it's formed. When it's formed, like no, when it's got a heartbeat.
Well, we all agree that like after birth abortion is a ridiculous term and it's murder, but like that is the term in the article. So that's what we were going over. Like I saw somebody saying we're giving into the left's language. It's like, no, but that's literally like them saying that like, what is it? Partial birth is a ridiculous religious psychopath term. Here's the proper left-wing term. It's called afterbirth, and it's even later than that.
Yeah. Gerald Armstrong, thank you, sir, says if a pregnant mother is murdered, they charge the suspect with 2 counts for murder and fetus. That's true.
I actually don't agree with that. I think if you're going to have bullshit, I hate states that have it both ways. If you're going to be like New York State, and you're going to be like, oh, well, we're going to pass this super like abortion like restriction where we don't count it as a life, then that has to be consistent throughout the whole court system. Like I hate this idea that, oh, it's not a life when the mother doesn't want it, but if somebody else ends it, like it doesn't make any sense. So if some random guy like, you know, shoves a pregnant woman, which you shouldn't do, by the way, unless she's talking back to you, then, you know, she had it coming. But just kidding about that. But if a random guy shoves a pregnant woman and like she loses the baby, then like he gets charged with the murder. But if that woman was like on her way to Planned Parenthood and she was going to go get rid of it, then like that's whatever. That's her freedom. Like I hate inconsistency in the law. So I would change that, and I would make it a thing that no, if you want it changed, then maybe you should reconsider your other positions because you need consistency.
Right. Then it gives people incentive.
100%. And you know what? Spike and Manis brought up a really good point that says afterbirth was already a term for the placenta, right? You are absolutely right. And this is one of the things where we talk about all the time, Keri, where they're trying to change certain verbiage and certain words to mean different things so that they can do weird shit, like make these weird laws or whatever. But like the idea of afterbirth, and actually afterbirth is a very healthy thing, because a lot of women actually make pills from placenta, and it's actually a very healthy thing to consume for the feed for the baby, and the nutrition for women and stuff like that. So you want to make this term a bad thing, and you're just I don't know, it makes me think about how they're trying to change words again, and it's just
Well, yeah, they
we
do
all the time.
I mean, even you were talking about pedos earlier. They want to be called minor attracted persons now. Why? Well, we know why.
Well, marketing.
Yeah,
I-
marketing.
I will close with 2 points. So, like, if you're concerned about women's rights and women's, bodily autonomy and all that, and like specifically in regards to abortion, then like, where were you the last, 50 years on China's forced abortion policies that specifically lead Chinese society to target like little girl babies? Also,
Yeah.
that Star Wars girl is here. Everybody say hi to her.
Shout
hey!
out, shout out, Anna.
So,
Hi,
but yeah,
Anna.
like if you talk to these people, they never have any issue with it. Like, and that's like where you get into that really sketchy territory where like your everyday person might be like pro-choice or consider themselves pro-choice because women's bodily autonomy, but a lot of the academics are kind of like just anti-human, and like they view it as a form of population control. Like Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, was very much into this. So like there's like a distinct separation between your everyday person that might actually go get an abortion and the way that like academics view this.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. I did have one other thing I wanted to bring up. Hi, that Star Wars girl. I'm not sure. I think Pirate Tomsky had to go to the bathroom.
He's back now.
Oh, good. If he's there, could you put up that tweet, sir, that is about how conservatives don't care about providing services for babies or women or anything after birth? Yeah. So I just wanted to address this because I think it's common sense now, the response to this, but it's actually not. I know a lot of people who are still in the leftist echo chamber I was in, and who are confused by this. I used to be confused by this. I used to believe this. This is a tweet that's from Joyce Aline that says, "A party that takes away abortion rights but refuses to provide support for pregnant women who need help with medical care, including birth expenses, housing, food, childcare and schooling, employment, etc., is most definitely not pro-life." Well, I used to say things like this too. And just for anyone on the left who may be watching who's genuinely confused and curious, not the people who aren't, but the ones who are genuinely confused, this comes down to what you think is the role of government. And so if you actually look into it, I didn't used to know this, but there's a whole book. Arthur Brooks wrote a book called "Who Really Cares," and it was about giving contributions, charitable contributions. And in it, he looked at all different kinds of studies and data that showed that conservatives give 30% more than liberals do. And actually, there was a Google study which said conservatives give double what liberals do to charity. And I think what you're seeing here, if you're on the left and you're looking at this and thinking, but they don't want to put this stuff into law to provide for all these different things. That's because they don't view everything is a function of government, like that it's a government's responsibility or job to take care of things. They believe in private charities and personal donations, like voluntarily giving of yourself and of your resources. So when you say no one on the right wants to take care of people, it's like, no, there are some people on the right who don't want the government to take money from person A and decide who person B is going to be that they give it to. They want person A to voluntarily give. And they do, if you look at the data, they do give more. And so I just wanted to explain that for anyone who's curious.
And there's people that we portray in the media, or I say we, but I mean like the mainstream media portrays as crazy religious zealots, like Michelle Bachmann, who in a lot of ways is super religious and super goofy. But Michelle Bachmann fostered over 20 children. Like, what's her name?
Wow.
Marianne Williamson on the left. Like, people portrayed her as this like woo-woo, like crystal healing, like weirdo. She set up an organization that provides something like 12,000 meals to seniors every single day, like on her own. So like Like the idea that you're somehow noble or virtuous because you advocate for spending other people's money rather than doing something yourself is absurd. And this is also the same exact argument that I was talking about earlier, where, don't kill that homeless person. And the counter is, well, if you're not going to let them live in your house. On top of that, these people wouldn't change their positions if the social programs were up to the point where they would like it in the first place. It's not like if you had like government care to their satisfaction from cradle to grave that they would change their position on abortion. So it's also a bad faith argument.
Yeah, and I agree with everything you said, but also like the other part to it too is that constantly brings up for me is the idea that like they want to kind of push this idea that especially like Black people or minorities and things like that like need Planned Parenthood and need abortion rights because, well, not just rights, like they need easy access to abortion because they're so not well off and they need it because they can't take care of a child. But a lot of times those households and minorities, especially Black people, don't believe in that. They don't believe in abortion because of their religion or like their close family ties. Their culture don't usually advocate for abortion. They actually like having babies and raising them. So it's just kind of like this weird messaging that they're trying to put out into the public to like paint a picture of this group and like the minorities. It's same with Hispanic people. Hispanic people are not usually like, oh, I'm gonna go get an abortion. Like their culture doesn't. They're not like that. So they're very much into carrying the baby full time and maybe even putting it up for adoption, but they're not, because of their religion. They don't usually believe in those things. But the leftists want to paint this picture that they're all about it, and it's like that's not true.
They want to speak for everyone. It's like they use all these different identity groups as a skin suit of sorts. It's like this is who we are. We're wrapped in people of color and women and gay people and trans people. And it's like, no, most of the time, those of you who are at the very top pushing this stuff, I mean, you're very wealthy, elite, white people for the most part, who are pushing this ideology. So I see that you have a palate cleanser for us, Nina.
Yes. Well, this is also a baby was killed in this, but in a really, I mean, I'm not gonna say it was a good thing, but some people seem to enjoy it. I don't. I feel like it's evil, and I'm disappointed in Az. But hey, things happen. People are really mad at me in the chat for simping for Baby Yoda. I'm not sorry. Cute. He's the only thing in Star Wars that's cute.
You know, Disney's mark. They need you people like you to like Baby Yoda to thrive.
I know.
We must kill Baby Yoda. We must roast Baby Yoda on an open fire.
That's why they're gonna kill him, because they think they know that there's people that actually like him, and they're gonna be like, we can't have happy fans. We need to kill this fucker.
Kill it.
No! Why?
No!
Oh, no!
Oh.
No!
Yeah.
No!
Why?
He's so mean to me.
Why? Fuck off, you little fuck!
Why don't?
He's so mean to me.
Why doesn't Az like Baby Yoda?
I can't believe you bought it just to do that.
I'm traumatized.
No one's ever really
they're
gone,
gonna
Nina.
do that. They're gonna do that.
Hey,
to the
Nina.
actual Baby Yoda.
Nina, no one's ever really gone.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from you.
He's so mean to me.
Why?
He doesn't like Baby Yoda. Him and Ryan Kinnell, they don't like Baby Yoda because they think it's like a gimmick that Disney Star Wars put in the new Disney Star Wars so
To
that
get women?
to get women. And you know what they did? They absolutely did. I'm not denying it. That is definitely something that happened. But you know what? They did something right for once because we do like cute things and we do like Baby Yoda. I love Baby Yoda. I think it's freaking cute.
It is weird because people like the Mandalorian show where Baby Yoda appears in, but like if there's anything that like visually symbolizes Disneyfication of Star Wars, it's making Yoda a baby with big Disney eyes. Cute. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird because I hate Disney Star Wars like with a passion, but I'm like, okay, Baby Yoda's cute. Like I've never even watched The Mandalorian or any of the other things, but I think Baby Yoda's freaking cute. I think it's hilarious and
I
cute.
do too. I both fully admit that they put that in there to get women to view it, but I also,
Yes.
like you, I think it works. I think he's adorable.
Alf is right, by the way. The Ewoks, like Star Wars, has done things for like that are meant to be cute to sell toys
Yes.
and reel
Yes.
people in. So you know what, like credit where credit is due. And George Lucas, by the way, is one of the guys who invented movie merchandise, like,
Absolutely.
as a thing. So
Yeah,
like, you know,
exactly. Like the Ewoks. I mean, I like the Ewoks too. I think they're cute AF. I love the Ewoks. So cute.
I'm gonna find to put it up at the end of the episode. I'm gonna find my friend Julia, who's a really talented artist, has some very cute Baby Yoda images. Oh wait, I'll send you this one right now for you to put it up, Pirate.
I love Baby Yoda.
We should have saved the palette cleanser for the very end because next we're going to talk about Amber Heard.
Oh my God. Well, I have to go soon. So
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, let's get it in fast. What are your thoughts?
that's what she said.
That's what they them said.
Oh my God. No, Keri. No, bad Keri. Okay, let's talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, well, let's put up this image. I think he's got it. Look
Oh,
at that.
he's so cute. Oh.
Yeah, my friend Julia. I like to plug her stuff. She's an independent artist. She's on Instagram, Julia Man Art Real, and she does all kinds of color pencil drawings, and she has quite a few of Baby Yoda. This is one of them. But
I love it.
thank you. So I've been following your post about it, Nina, and I think we're in agreement on almost everything. But if you want to give us your thoughts on Heard and her testimony.
Which post? I've been like posting nonstop about Amber Heard.
Well, you shared a clip of her fake crying and said this is disgusting.
Oh, that one. Okay. Yeah, because okay, so for one thing, Amber Heard, I feel like we know that she's a psycho person that stole a story from her assistant. This is from the UK trial that the assistant, her previous assistant, had came out and said that she stole my sexual assault story. So we know that she's already done that. And I think that when I was watching the trial, and here, let me pull that up. When I was watching the trial, and I was watching it live, and I saw her crying about what she was claiming to experience. Well, first of all, I feel like it was all forced.
I think Pirate already has it pulled up, that clip.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can play it.
It was crazy, like just to like hear her say things that she said and then, cry like that. It's, some people are theorizing that there was substances in her napkin that she was sniffing in order to get herself to cry. And I almost believe that because I think that there was like some pepper in there or something. I mean, most people are saying it was cocaine, but I don't think it was cocaine because cocaine won't make you cry. And also cocaine is like a speed. It'll make you go much faster. She wasn't like acting like she was on cocaine afterwards, unless she's got such a huge tolerance to it, in which case, I mean, I don't know, but yeah. I feel like maybe she did like sniff something though to get her tears to come out because she was finally putting up like a performance, because the day before she was trying to cry and she couldn't squeeze out a tear to save her life. Yeah. So, and then now she was just like bawling her eyes out, and it was a crazy performance. I don't buy any of it, to be honest with you. And the things that she was describing to me was like really weird because I've had the experience, that the unpleasant experience of being punched in the face when I was a teenager. Like I got attacked by, actually it was a friend of mine that wasn't decided not to be my friend and punched me in the face. And it, got me like right here, cut my lip, had bruising lip, like, my lip was messed up for days, maybe weeks afterwards. It was definitely way worse than Amber's pictures that she claimed to take. So I don't know. I just don't buy any of her story. Sean, are you buying any of this?
I haven't been following the trial too much. I have seen some of the clips of like Depp winning over the courtroom with his charm. And I've heard the audio of her, like, obviously, being an aggressor in the relationship. And I've heard about Depp's like tendency to leave situations, but I think the relationship was, kind of garbage, like
It
for
was.
both people. And like, as far as her like quote unquote physical abuse, like there's very little evidence of it from what I've seen so far. My favorite part of the trial was the guy who was testifying while he was going through the drive-through, though. Like coronavirus.
Oh,
A
yeah.
plus.
I missed
Oh
that
my
one.
God. I think I missed that part, but like that, I heard about it. That's funny.
Well, we can play this. I think I agree with you, Nina. I think I did see that video of her. There is video of her. It looks like she's snorting something hidden behind her tissue. There's also a very creepy and I think telling clip that I don't have this one pulled up. I'll just tell you guys about it. But there's a clip of her with a tissue and
She looks over when she's like posing for the camera.
Yes, you can see
Yeah.
a flash from a camera where it's doing the pre-lighting, and she stops and keeps the tissue there frozen so they get the picture of her with the tissue.
Yeah.
It like pauses for a couple seconds. It's so awkward, and then takes it down. She's posing for the picture, and yeah, let's just play this because I think this is acting.
2015, Tokyo. Please tell, it's the premiere of Mordecai, correct?
They're probably gonna claim you on this one, Keri. Just FYI.
Skip ahead. This is 6 minutes. Skip ahead to where she's doing way ahead. Yeah. Here we go.
Just as bad as anything else. I just remember that he left me on the closet floor, and as embarrassing as it is to say, I went up to him at some point. I don't know how much time had passed. He was sitting at the piano in the living room of the hotel room that we had.
Here, I'm gonna put the one that I have because it just like shows this straight up crying. It's in the private chat. But like the other thing is even listening to this, like there's so many details in her testimony that makes absolutely no freaking sense. Like the fact that she can, remember the time she spent on the carpet and like, all these different things. But then she'll like say something so out of the ordinary. And then she'll be like, oh, but like, I don't really remember like exactly like what happened after that. Or like, I don't really remember like the sequence of what happened. And it's like, you're saying the most insane things right now, but you can't remember this, like the main details that we need to know, but you remember like what the carpet looked like and like, how dirty it was. Like, it's just so bizarre. Like some of the stuff she was saying, the whole bottle rape. I'm still like, what? Like,
well, typically when you're not telling the truth, and again, I don't like, obviously I don't know, caveat, but typically when you're not telling the truth, you emphasize a bunch of different details because that's like part of the rehearsal. So like typically when people are telling the truth, they're less likely to remember the petty details. Like I remember there was a case where some guy was alleging that his daughter was kidnapped. He had killed her. And he was giving the cops a description of her clothes that included like the designs.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And
that's one of the reasons why they suspected him, because of the fine details.
Details. Yeah.
It also was like, he probably dressed her after killing her too. So he might have remembered because of that. And he took note of that for the description. So typically too many details are a giant red flag. And that's what seems like is being shown there.
Yeah. And it's like to me, she's definitely she seems like a pathological liar / like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen that episode of Seinfeld where Jerry has to go do a lie detector test, and he's trying to figure out how to beat it. So he tells like George Costanza, like, you have to teach me how to beat this lie detector test. And he's like telling him like, it's not a lie if you believe it, like, you know, so like it's like she has to believe her own lie in order to be able to sell this story. And I think that that's what she's really doing here, is like trying to sell this lie that she's told herself clearly. Like she's told herself she's experienced these things and she's trying to believe it. She believes this, so that's why she's actually coming out and saying these things.
I don't think she actually. I don't know. I go back and forth on whether these personality disorder people believe their lies or not. I think they do. When in the telling of it, she's convincing herself of it. She's acting it as if it's real, but she knows. I think she knows she's lying. And to that, your point about the dirty carpet reference. So, when Johnny Depp gave his testimony, which I found to be very believable, it struck me as true. I know people may disagree. You know, he is a great actor, what have you, but I found it to be believable. He talked about a moment where when she threw the bottle and it shattered and sliced the top of his finger off. And this happened. There's pictures of him in the hospital after this happened and everything. He talked about looking at the bone protruding from his finger.
Yeah.
And he had this very poetic moment where he said something like, and I just had this moment where I just thought, this isn't life. Why am I in this relationship? This isn't life. She was studying him. She's sitting in the courtroom, taking notes, watching him. And I think when it came time for her to give her testimony, she wanted to have a poetic moment like that. And so what does she do? She writes a script where she includes a moment where she says, and after he supposedly hit her, she says, and then I just had this moment where I was just looking at the filthy carpet and just thinking, how did I get here on this dirty carpet? And it's like,
oh my God.
But it felt like she's the way a psychopath or narcissist, the way they study you and then they try to copy, and it just felt like she was trying to replicate that.
Well, and I kept laughing my ass off about the carpet thing, because we know she's a lesbian too. So I was like, are we really talking about carpets here? Like, is this really a thing that we're talking about now? But it's just, it's so funny to me, because my entire feed is filled with, you know, I'm a victim of abuse. This is what my face looked like after, you know, so-and-so beat me. You know, she's lying. I don't think she's honest. I don't think she's telling the truth. And it's just like, it's just the amount of bullshit that came out of her mouth. Like, cause it was like, you know, she described how Johnny got on top of her and repeatedly punched her in the head. Look, if a stronger dude than you is punching you in the head or face like several times, there's going to be evidence of that. You are going to see that. Like, and there's no way that Amber Heard, of all people, is not taking photographic evidence of her alleged like insane abuse, where the things that she discovered would clearly be visible on her. And then like there's videos of her about what she described happened, like about getting punched in the head over and over. And like literally like 2 days later, she's on the James Corbin show, like the Tonight Show or whatever she was on, and she's like totally fine and she's like having fun, and she was like describing it as like the worst days of her life afterwards, and she was in so much agony and pain she could barely move. And like there's literally like video evidence of her like 2 days after, like all fine and dandy and just like chilling out with James Corbin and them. And it's just like, who's believing any of this? Like, I don't understand. Like, is the jury going to be that dumb? I don't know.
Yeah. Do we want to play this? You have to go, Dina.
Yeah.
We have time.
Play it.
Okay.
Yeah, we can play it.
Finished the process of detox in LA, and I had my friends out with my girlfriends there to support me as per usual.
So, Michelle, can you pull up 272, please?
I thought it'd be better if I got away from all this nastiness of detox and went to party with my friend.
That was the pause, I think.
After you both returned to LA,
Get out.
I didn't catch the pause. Can you go back to it? So I can see it?
Mimosas and Coke.
by text. Wow.
That was either the pause or when she's sniffing the thing, because she's like,
I think that's when she's sniffing. Yeah, there's better clips of that where you can see the sniffing.
Yeah, because people like zoom into. The internet, man. The internet's crazy with this. I think this was the one. Yeah, I think this is the one I posted about her crying.
He was felt this pressure. I felt this pressure. On my pubic bone. He said he was punching me. I just saw his arm. I could feel his arm moving, and it looked like he was.
So Sean, just to give context here, because you said you haven't seen the trial, she's claiming that Johnny Depp is raping her with a bottle.
It was like
a broken bottle.
I'm laughing because look, to be fair to Amber, two things. One, a lot of these actresses get preventative Botox and it messes up their ability to act. So, maybe she's actually a better actress than she's displaying. Number two, this is just bad. Like it looks terrible, and she's dressed like Jack Sparrow. I just want to point that out. That she's dressed like
I
Jack
know.
Sparrow
I was
in the
totally
clip.
thinking that too.
I know the outfit thing of her copying his outfits is like a thing, and that's really weird. And she doesn't come off as believable. I know why she fired her PR team.
The outfit thing, she didn't just copy his outfit either. She also copied I forget the psychologist's name. Nick's chat calls her Dr. Mommy, so now it's like that's stuck in my head. But like Dr. Mommy's outfit, like the next day she wore the same hairstyle and everything like that. Like after that woman basically destroyed her and called her a psychopath on the stand. She was like, because she was received so well, she dressed like her the next day. And I was like, dude,
it's so
creepy.
weird. They copy.
Dr. Curry, thank you, chat.
Dr. Curry, I have so many things I want to say about this. However, I have to take a break. I have to go to the bathroom. Why don't we wrap it up?
Okay.
Is that cool? Because you got to go anyway.
Yeah, I gotta go anyway.
I can save these thoughts for Monday, and you're always welcome back, either of you, anytime.
Okay.
Thanks.
Let me run through these super chats real fast. Chad, the least she could do is have an onion hidden in her hand. Well, she had something else. I think.
I think she had some sort of powder, man. I think she got some pepper or something. I mean, like a lot of people are saying Coke. I don't think it was Coke.
The Shagsworth, hello, sir. He says the abortion issue is never a big issue for Dems until Roe v. Wade comes up, and then Pocahontas freeze around the internet for a week. Yeah, Elizabeth Warren has had some anger.
Oh my God. Did you see that whole thing about what you said about like, I'm mad and I'm going to fight to hell? And I was like, isn't that literally what you said Donald Trump said to like incite an insurrection? And then now you're like, I'm fighting to hell. Like she's literally saying the exact same words he said.
Doesn't matter when she does it. And then the Orange Ninja Turtle, your fan is back. Sean, dude, Moneybags over here. $10 says Star Wars Rebels is the best Star Wars. Shaka is better than Luke Skywalker. LGBT OG because Sean is the real OG.
Wow. He really likes you.
And thank you, Michael. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm sorry. I had too much coffee.
That's a super sticker of a unicorn. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. People are like, yeah, I don't have a toilet built into my chair like some people.
Well, if you want, we can like Sean and I can vamp, and then you can go and come back if you want to keep the show running, and then like just talk to Sean after I go.
Oh, I actually have to
go too.
Oh, he's got to go too.
Yeah,
okay,
I knew he had to go too. But thank you guys for hanging out. You're both welcome anytime. Just tell people really quickly where they can find you, and I know Pirate's been plugging it.
Yeah, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Nina Infinity, where I will be going to right now to talk about good news. So if you're sick of all the crazy stuff, especially abortion stuff, and like, crazy psycho chicks crying on the stand and all the weird stuff, you just feel like getting, happy again, come to my channel right now every Friday, 2:45 Eastern, where I talk about good news and good things. Thank you, Keri. It's been so fun
Nina.
talking to you. And Sean, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Sean, you have to go on her show sometime. It is so much fun. The Friday show.
I will do it.
But I also have a crazy show on Wednesdays where I talk about this kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely, you're definitely welcome on my channel, especially to talk about clown world stuff. So
All right.
It'll be
I'm
fun.
interested. You guys can find me at Actual Justice Warrior. My links are also in the description for Twitter and Instagram, but Keri's got to go. So, yeah.
I do. Bye, guys. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.